Hey there, I'm Pete. I'm the pastor at CrossWalk Community Church, and I want to spend a couple moments with you talking about church membership and whether or not that might be a good thing for you. So let me just talk a little about it. And this, by the way, if you watch this video and feel like you're pretty informed and you want to become a member of CrossWalk, just let us know and we'll meet with you. But no real high bars. We just want your property at your death and maybe your firstborn. But other than that, it's pretty easy. So let me just walk you through what this whole thing is about and why you'd even be interested. First, on the why part, I think it is important in our day and age to belong to something and know that you belong to something. There's a different variable, a different level of relationship that happens when you're a part of something, like officially. When you're just dating somebody kind of loosely and you're kind of going out now and again, that's great and it's fun. And some people sort of do that the rest of their lives. But when you reach a level of commitment with each other, things change and the relationship dynamic changes. And your sense of other, your sense of love and being loved all changes, I think for the better, usually, hopefully. And that's kind of the same with membership. We're kind of in a membership averse time in our culture, and I understand why, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater and consider what it might be like to know that you're rooted in a place and in a space. And that space here at CrossWalk affords you the opportunity to be a part of something that's bigger than yourself, connecting with God regularly, and is making a huge difference in the world. CrossWalk is known for serving this community really, really well in a wide variety of ways, and we're going to continue to do that and more so as we figure that out. So we'd encourage you to consider that and to get on board with it. And like I said, our bar for membership is not real high. It's really asking you the question, are you aligned with our beliefs and what we're about? And so I would highly recommend that you check out CrossWalk's belief statement because we really live into that. That belief statement is really our mission statement all at the same time because what we do here at church and what we do as an organization is deeply related, directly related to what that belief statement says. In short, what that belief statement gets at is that we believe that the good news that Jesus came to offer, we are a Christian church, so we respect other traditions, and we are a very inclusive church, as is well known. You're probably watching this and interested in this partly because of that reason. Well, anyway, the good news that he came to give is that God loves us all unconditionally, no strings attached, and it's for everybody. And when Jesus said, "Come and follow me," he was inviting his would-be followers to join him, to follow in his footsteps that would lead to a different kind of life than many people were experiencing. It was a life connected to God. It was a life of deep meaning and significance, a life that seemed to be able to thrive and prevail even in the face of difficulty. So that's what we're about here. This whole idea of being continually renewed is sort of a nod to resurrection, and it is a choice. So we choose to be a part of this thing, and we choose to follow Jesus in the ways that Jesus walked. And in the Gospel of John, we've identified a handful of ways that plays out. One way, which is super obvious, is in being graceful, extending grace toward other people, literally telling people that they're loved and graced, and also in our attitudes and behaviors, being a graceful people. That's a very Jesus thing to do. Another invitation that we have in terms of following Jesus has to do with our lifelong learning process. We are invited to stretch our thinking all the time, being open to new ideas and insights, because we never arrive. It's impossible for us to totally understand everything. So we know that's a lifelong pursuit. Kneeling in service to others is another area where we see Jesus feeding thousands of people, helping them whatever way they can. Not all those people chose to follow. He was just modeling, and he couldn't help himself, really. He just wanted to be a gift to the world. And so he figured out ways to do that in service. And so as followers of Jesus, that's an invitation that we accept. Another piece has to do with connecting with God. When Jesus was with his disciples, they asked him how we should pray. He gives them the Lord's Prayer, which is really, I mean, it's okay that we memorize it. And here at CrossWalk with 43 different recovery groups, we hear that prayer all the time, all day long. And that's awesome. But I think we need to keep in mind that that prayer was really a model for how prayer should go. And not just in the words that we speak, but our lifestyle. Jesus would break away on occasion and be in a lonely place so that he could be totally and completely alone. And that was not an accident. There is great depth of connection with God that we find in contemplation and meditation. We practice meditation as a regular part of our services here at CrossWalk, and it has become a deeply loved part of our services. So that whole learning to connect with God, that's a whole new thing for some of us to learn. And while we would think it comes naturally, the reality is that every one of us has been enculturated by this thing we call Western culture, and where we are very intellectually oriented, and we kind of suck at being in touch with our emotions, our bodies, and slowing down. So it's a process to learn, and the invitation of Jesus is to learn from him how to connect with God. So that's part of it. And the final piece of this, and all these things kind of work together toward this renewed life experience, which is really awesome. The final piece has to do with really being community with each other. It's a form, the fancy word is incarnation. And what it's really recognizing is that we are really united with our fellow human beings. And part of the great gift of being in this broader community of humanity is that we get to come alongside people and be Jesus to them in really profound ways, in their deepest depths of despair to their highest peaks of joy. That's part of doing life together, and that's where community comes in. We have fooled ourselves in our culture thinking we can do this spirituality in a robust way, me, myself, and I. It just can't be done. The gospel was never me and God. It was always we and God. That's the faith thing, is it's in community. And so if you find yourself nodding your head on that, thinking, yeah, I totally buy into that, and that makes sense to me, and that's a group I'd want to be a part of, then we'd love to have you as part of our family here at CrossWalk. And when you do decide to join, what that does for me as a pastor and our staff here, it just lets us know that you're in. If we don't know that you're in, if we don't know that you're a member, we may be very sensitive, and maybe too much so, to your individual decisions on things. And if we don't see you for a while, we might just assume that that's how you wanted it to be, and might not realize that you could be going through hell. If you're a member, however, we strive to be a little bit more on top of things. And if we notice that we haven't seen you for a bit, that's concerning to us. Not that we're going to throw some kind of weird guilt trip on you or tell you you're going to hell, but we want to know you're okay. And that's part of being a caring community. So when you join the church, that gives us a nod to say, hey, I want you to be part of my life team here, and keep an eye out for me. And then we expect kind of the same thing from you, as we want to support you with things. We would hope that you would support CrossWalk too. We don't have any real strong rubric to figure that out in terms of what amount every person should give. We don't do it that way, but we do hope that for generosity, because that is part of the fruit of the Spirit. That's part of what we're invited into, is being generous with ourselves and our resources. CrossWalk's an awesome place that needs money, and so we would hope that you would be generous in support of this amazing space and help it move forward. A little bit about our structure and our background, because that may be helpful just for you to know going forward, and might make a big difference for your decision. First, we're an old church. We've been around since 1860. We are the first Baptist church in Napa. We've had different homes around the valley, and particularly in Napa City, and we've been in this particular location since the late 1950s. And the gym, I think, came online in the late 1960s into the early 1970s. And we've got a fantastic campus. It's bigger than most people realize until they get the tour. And we want to be really good stewards of that. So we've been around a long time. We are affiliated with the American Baptist Convention, which is a mainline Christian tradition. So not to be confused with evangelical Baptist traditions, which are more likely to be your hellfire brimstone, not real open to equality or equity, those kinds of things. We're more akin to the United Methodist Church or some forms of Lutheran Church or Presbyterians. Even though our style is very different, our theology across the board is generally more moderate, not quite as conservative. Within our Baptist tradition, Baptists are a little different than other traditions in that we affirm local church polity. That means that CrossWalk figures out who we are and how we're going to operate in the world all by ourselves. We are not controlled by any other organization that would speak into us. We are with them by association. We invite accountability so that we have eyes on us to make sure that we're not being too stupid. But at the end of the day, we choose who we are. And that's why we've been able to make some pretty bold moves as a church fairly quickly in our long history because we make the decision for ourselves. And that's pretty cool. So whenever CrossWalk needs a new pastor, it's the church that will figure out who's the best fit, and we'll go after that person and try to hitch up together. The other thing has to do with leadership and how we do leadership in the church. Our model, let me say it this way, our model is an accountability model. And the way it plays out is I am given a lot of latitude in terms of giving direction to the church and helping navigate through challenges. However, I am not allowed by our structure to be a dictator. I report to two main bodies. First of all, the congregation as a whole has the final say on everything. So the congregation votes every year on our officers, so our church secretary or our clerk, as well as our treasurer, are elected every year. We have three representatives of the congregation that are elected every year, and they serve a 3-year term. So we have 9 people in this board of stewards who represent the congregation, and they are the people I report to every month. I give them financial reports based on a meeting with our financial team. I don't touch any money, by the way. That's one of our rules. And I give them a report on how we're doing across the board. And they can ask me anything. They can tell me no if I ask for permission. Generally, we're on the same page, so it works out pretty good, and we get along well. And we haven't had a lot of major conflict in the church for some time. And when we have, we've gotten through it. I've been here 20 years. We've been through a lot. Let me tell you. But because of our structure, it has kept this church from being led by a crazy dictator who knows, maybe I could be that. But not under this structure, I can't, because it just doesn't work that way. I'm given a lot of latitude in terms of giving direction to things, but any wise leader knows that you can't do it all by yourself. So I give away tons of responsibility and leadership to other people and other teams to do their thing, and I think that's the way it should be. So that's kind of our model, and I have very clear guidelines as pastor here what I can't do anything with. So when it comes to major financial decisions or property, that kind of thing, I can't make those decisions. So I can't get us into a big mess. I can't sell off the property. I can't change the budget to siphon off money for myself. It's just not possible. So anyway, it's a really good model, and it keeps us very fluid so that we're able to respond as we need to, and usually very quickly to needs that we see without being too encumbered by structures that slow things down sometimes way, way, way too much. So that's a little bit about our structure and our history. If you'd like to have more questions answered, we try to have a meeting once a quarter or so for those that want to get this in person and ask anything they want. And we hope that you will. So hope to see you in my office after church some week with a group of other people that have questions too. and we would love to have you as part of our family if it senses to you like this is a good fit. Okay, have a great day. We'll see you again soon. Thanks.